Now, the federal government has, through mediation, settled a long-standing contractual dispute with a foreign investor group in the steel industry by securing a reduction of the total money in contention from $5.258 billion to $496 million. Now, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, revealed this in a statement. The AGF maintains that the reduction from which the federal government secured from the group represents 91% of the total mediation claim. It disclosed that the mediation proceedings were under the International Chamber of Commerce's Alternative Dispute Resolution Framework led by Philip Howell Richardson. According to the AGF, the settlement agreement came into effect on August 19, 2022, and of course this has been generating lots of debate online as to if the federal government should be paying such huge amounts of monies for contracts never executed and all of that, while the government has been trying to explain that of course the issues of judgment debts are one that needs to be taken very serious. But a lot of people on social media seem to be divided, especially among the two dominant political parties in Nigeria, on whether Nigeria needs to be paying some of these debts that were entered into in various in dubious circumstances, like some have called it. Well, for more insight on the political dimensions of this, I have joining me on the program Woye Adeyemi, a member of the All Progressives Congress, who's also a social media analyst that has been talking about these issues and defending the government on social media. Thank you so much, Woye, for coming on our program. And we just want you to help us understand why this has taken a very deep interest among people on social media, especially Twitter, wanting to know why federal government will be paying $496 million, for example, in this instance, for almost a job that's not executed, while the government continues to say that, look, if they hadn't settled these issues, I mean, would have been paying about $5.something billion, and with other ones, it could even go to about $10 billion, all for very controversial agreements, contracts entered into by previous governments, which not a lot of people understand all of this.
Okay, thank you for having me. One thing about this contract, the first thing is that the Federal Ministry of Justice should work with Bureau for Public Procurement to regulate and to formulate a new policy on contract awarding. Now, I'm aware that Director Legals in MDAs wants an amount like maybe around 100 million naira. Above them, they will send the file to Federal Ministry of Justice for vetting. Now, the problem is, after vetting the contract, certain people in the system can short-circuit the process. And because of that thing, they prefer, because they knew that that contract will not be executed. So they will not ask the contractor, whatever also, to write for, they will terminate the contract, and that contractor will take them to arbitration. Now, look at this Global Steel. The Ajakuta Steel, the foundation was laid by Shagari. And when Obasanjo came into power, they realized that the best way to get Ajakuta done is to go through concession. They got Sogas. Sogas failed. They brought Global Steel. I don't go into who are behind Sogas or Global Steel. Now, by the time Obasanjo left, Yaradua terminated the contract some days to the end of that time. The company decided to go to court. Now, once a letter has been issued by the ministry to a firm, it is a valid contract. That just like you are buying tomatoes in the market, you have given the tomato seller your money. Tomato seller must give you tomatoes. So you don't care where the tomato seller got the tomatoes from. Therefore, the contract has been established, an award letter has been issued to them. They brought their materials to the site to work, and suddenly somebody somewhere said the contract should be terminated. They don't know the internal process of government. All what they've done was to bid, and then it was approved. Now, what do you now do? The company took us to court. took us to court for $5.5 billion. This government of President Muhammadu Buhari has been settling contract disputes since 2015 he came into power. We have to negotiate with them, give them what was it in so that they can allow us to
National Iron Ore Mining.
They can allow us to be able to pay less money. In fact, we got 91% of that particular payment. Now, you see, this issue will keep on continuing, whether it is Buhari, whether it is Woye, whether it's Peter. What we need to do is a framework from government and to punish people that colluded with investors or contractors in the public service. Because they know that ultimately this payment will be made 15 years, 25 years, 30 years. Look at Sunrise issue.
Yeah, I mean,
look at Sunrise issue now.
Look at Azura.
Now, the challenge is that Federal Ministry of Justice has a significant role to play here. You are sending lawyers to MDAs. You need to train your lawyers that agreements whenever or we can insert it in Procurement Act, that you don't commence construction, you don't commence supply until agreement has been signed by the government. Your letter is just a temporary communication with the government. Therefore, when you get a letter and you write a letter of acceptance to the government and legal division drop the agreement, you sign the agreement, government sign the agreement, and any agreement that is beyond the letter of legal in the ministry should be referred back to Attorney General for final vetting and should be approved by Federal Executive Council. So that particular company has to wait until FEC approves the agreement that they will now authorize Attorney General to sign the agreement after he has vetted the agreement to make sure that Nigeria is not losing. Without that, Nigeria will keep on losing money every day. Yeah,
look at the controversial Azura power deal, for example, and the monies we are supposed to be paying for nothing that has been delivered. What do you make of that?
No, I think for Azura is a different ballgame for me. One, we are so lucky, we are so fortunate to have lenders that can give us that kind of money for Azura. We are a high-risk nation. Any government comes in tomorrow, let's say another government comes in on May 29, next year now, can terminate contracts, there will be breach of contracts. So we have history of governments, a new government breaching old contracts. Therefore, what Azura did was this. Azura said, whether or not you are taking my power, I have brought you 9 companies, 9 international lenders. You will pay me $30 million. Now, the problem is from TCN. Part of the TCN issue is not being addressed by Siemens project. For me, Azura is a good deal for Nigeria. For me. Because
but we are not enjoying any power yet from that. So why should we be bound? Isn't it that shouldn't it be that when we start enjoying power from the power plant, that's when the contractual obligation should kick off?
No, Azura is sending you power 94% to TCN. Azura is contributing 10% to national grid. The problem is from TCN. And then, honestly speaking, if you have missed that particular financing, it will take us another 20 years. We don't have the money.
So it was a good deal.
It was a good, Azura is a good deal.
It's just that we didn't meet our own aspect of the deal.
For sure.
That's what you're saying.
Sure. We did meet our aspect.
All right.
But hopefully, with Siemens coming in, you'll be able to take advantage of that Azura. But nobody will establish a power plant in Nigeria with the kind of financing we got from Azura lenders. It's just not one person, it's it's a combination of so many financial
lenders came together to provide the bulk of the money to build the power plant.
That's never happened in Nigeria. That's never happened in sub-Saharan Africa.
Okay, let's talk about the political dimension of this discussion. We've seen people saying that it looks like Malami seems to be favoring payment of this judgment debts or trying to meet some of these contractual obligations because he has certain interests in some of these. I mean, why should we be paying some of these monies when we don't have enough money right now? And you've seen what's going on the $480 million US deal, for example, with the governors, how they've been going back and forth, and the Nigerian Governors Forum accusing Malami of favoring his friends and all of that. What do you make of that political talk? And then, of course, when this latest one came again, and people just kept accusing this government of wanting to maybe favor its international friends or something like that.
Well, I don't think, you see, if you know the history of judgment debt in Abuja in those days, it is a cash cow business. But since Malami came in, Malami has streamlined judgment debt issue. And it's unfair to accuse Malami for this issue. The issue of governors, Paris refund, anything, I think we should allow courts to decide further thing about it. I think it's a case that he inherited now. It's not a new case for him. And I think the governors can actually sit down again with the president and look at the issue. But I'm aware that FEC altered the payment to the consultant, but some cases are in court. I think we should allow it, but it's unfair. But I think he has done so much in terms of reforming judgment debt. Let me give you an example. You just find an MDA issuing a contract to the person. They will not pay the money. They will make sure that money was not paid. And then after 5 years, the contractor or the firm will go to court and said, you are owing me money for 5 years. And Procurement Act states that if you don't pay the money, you have to pay the interest as at the judgment date. So when you give me a job of 100 million naira and you're not paying it, in the next 5 years, I must have made so much money. And by the time, I remember when Malami came into power and he consulted judgment committee debt to verify them. Even Jonathan raised alarm that why is that judgment debt, budget keep on increasing. By the time they call the contractors, the consultants, some of them did not show up. So, but when you are doing a reform, like they say in Nigeria, corruption fights back. They will fight you back. That you are favoring A against B. For me, Malami has done very well in reducing judgment debt. Somebody reduced judgment debt from $5 billion to $500 million. He has tried now. Let's give him.
Well, this is steeped in politics, and you see other people hitting back at your party, the APC, that why is APC so interested in clearing some of this judgment debt? And you are accusing the PDP of having brought all of these contracts and all of that. Isn't it also that the APC-led federal government is signing new contracts too, that maybe if another party wins, by the time they come to government in May next year, they will find out that you've also put Nigeria into some sort of debt?
Well, first and foremost, PDP caused a lot of problems. So many contracts were not executed, so many contracts were breached, and we have so many cases at either Paris or America, travel. I'm not aware of any contract APC government has awarded that has been breached. So APC government followed the rules, the law governing procurement process, the rules of law that it should do A and B. Unlike in PDP, that anybody can just wake up tomorrow and said, I don't want this guy, you're gone. But also, let me also tell you that APC government will continue next year.
Well, you're being optimistic. Now let's talk about the very big one among all of these controversial cases, the PNID. You remember that controversial gas pipeline project and gas, what's it called, accelerated gas development project and all of that, and how we could have put ourselves into such a very big development, and then we're at the risk of almost having our assets being seized abroad and all of that, which would have made us to go bankrupt. Until, you know, this government intervention, and of course some people were even saying that, look, we should write back to our former colonial masters, Britain, and beg and plead for mercy. Talk to us about how this government has been able, under the APC-led federal government by Buhari, to tackle those issues, and of course the issue is still in case in court at the moment.
What the government has done here was to, one, Nigeria leg. Nigeria leg is to, first of all, get those officials that signed. Maybe the biggest issue is that late Ruwan Lukman, who was the central figure of that particular deal, has passed away.
Resources.
Now, but the other officials that were involved, EFCC is investigating them. Now, the UK or US, access of the case, Nigeria is able to get, court waivers. So I believe the lesson, like I said again, the lesson we should learn from all this thing is not about even APC, PDP now, is to have Nigerian public officials to love the country, to be patriotic. $10 billion is a lot of money. They are claiming $9.7 billion.
Yeah, you could see $23 million that was returned to us from the Abacha loot. So, see all the razzmatazz.
For me, PID, we're having a better case because we have been able to establish that that contract was fraudulent. There was nothing on ground. They didn't even have. We're in Abuja here. You don't even have an office. Even
the company itself was looking shady and all of that.
Just a company that go and drink tea.
Yeah, but the problem still arises from us Nigerians who go out there to go at times to want to bring some shady characters into the country and tell them, don't worry. I know the Minister of Petroleum. I know the President. I know this. We'll do this and do that. How much patriotic can we be to this country, and how much unpatriotic are those individuals are at the moment, and putting the country into a situation whereby our economy is just bleeding, paying all this? Like, for example, $496 million US. Imagine what that money can do.
Well, I'll fix my village road. But you see, let me tell you, the reality is that we need to have regulation. You can be patriotic. Another government can come in tomorrow and be, I don't care attitude. What's my own? Let me take my own. Let's have a framework that every human being, every public servant must follow. Like I said, when they issue you a letter of award, don't mobilize until agreement is signed. Fortunately, there's a new approval limit for contracts that can come to FEC, that Ministerial Tender Board can handle, that Permanent Secretary can do 20-30 million now, for works and supplies. So, but the biggest contract we're talking about is the one getting around 1 billion, 10 billion, 100 billion. That one, Attorney General, after BPB has given certificate of no objection, Attorney General, they should give a copy. As I send the copy of approval letter to the Honorable Minister of that particular ministry, they should copy Attorney General too. So that Attorney General will now ask for the procurement processes, the file to read. Then then we need also to train lawyers in Federal Ministry of Justice on contract drafting. They just draft a contract, and then when the private lawyer says, okay, there's a loophole for us to enjoy. Of course, everybody likes money. You will do it.
Because it has lots of booby traps.
Yes. So you need to train your lawyers in Federal Ministry of Justice, not just to have copy and paste legal agreements. I'm sure my friend will My friend will not be happy with me today saying that. But the reality is that you can even involve private lawyers to join them to draft agreement. Look at P&ID. Look at what they did. Once people get an award letter, they move on. So once FEC,
some just go to bed and they don't do anything, no monitoring, nothing.
So what President Buhari should do as his legacy is to direct Attorney General to formulate a policy or an executive order that every MDA must implement and obey. That will solve this problem of somebody waking up today and said, I will give a contract to build anything, and then in the next 5 months, another person comes into power, they have an agreement, let's terminate it. Then when they get judgment, all of them at the backstage will share. So it's a problem.
Now let's talk about asset seizures. If Nigeria doesn't pay some of these monies like we've been accused of, and then some of these judgment debts at the International Court of Arbitration and all of that, what sort of assets belonging to Nigeria outside the country can be seized by those people who have some of these judgments? Okay,
let me give you an example. There was a time Nigerian government signed an agreement with, give a contract, a military contract, to work to a company. The same company was managing our visas and everything in UK. The company got a judgment against Nigeria, Federal High Court. And what the company did, when Nigeria government refused to, obey or refund their money back, they went to UK to seize our assets. We have assets. We are selling crude oil. A foreign court can issue an order that particular crude oil that were exporting,
an oil tanker
could be seized.
Yeah, but isn't that money usually paid in advance for each of the oil tanker that's taking the oil out?
You can garnish your accounts in United States of America and in UK. So, and then if you
because they pay us in dollars,
if you don't obey foreign judgments, no financial agency will assist Nigeria. So, nobody like what China is doing for us. China will not come in because, assuming, we quarrel, how will I get our money? So Nigeria must obey international engagement, international commitments. You must obey the law of the other, the foreign judgments. So you must pay.
But what of like some of these Chinese loans, as we try to round up this conversation, where they say you have to waive your sovereignty? You see, what happens in that instance?
You see, we caused ourselves a problem. That particular sovereignty, for me, is a minor issue. Why I say minor issue is this: we make noise out of no noise. Nigeria is selling oil every day. You are saying your proceed. China is not foolish now. So, and then we have never devoted on China loan. China loan is just about 3% of our public debt.
Yeah.
And then, because of this noise, we're having challenges in Lagos, Calabar rail line. We're having challenges in Port Harcourt, Maiduguri rail line.
Yeah, those guys are saying they won't finance
we
us any longer.
We need the money. If you get the money, you will create jobs. Insecurity will go down. And everybody's engaged. So China loan has been nice to us. We have paid China back. We have checked the one that President took. We pay part of the money.
So lastly, how do the presidential candidates of different political parties, including yours, address this in 60 seconds before we close? As the campaigns begin on September 28th, when these issues will be very, very hot.
I think for me, my principal, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, believes in, respect agreement, and he believes in public-private partnership. The biggest joker he has is ability for him to unlock private sector funds. if you get private sector fund, I mean, I always say that Nigeria is having artificial unemployment. Look at Delta State. How many ports are in Delta State? Look at what's in Lagos done, Lagos, Lekki, Badagry. Then if you get in, I did a thread on ports. If you, the governor of Lagos, the governor of Delta State, can look for investors. President Buhari, when he sees a very authentic, genuine, that will create job, he does not look at your face whether you are a PDP or a APC. He will approve.
All right. Woye Adeyemi is a member of the Governing All Progressives Congress, and of course is a social media analyst. He's an influencer on Twitter and is well followed by all political parties, Labour Party and PDP. I see the brickbats you throw at each other every now and then, but it's good to actually provide factual information whenever you're doing some of this analysis online. But we must thank you so much, and we hope to have you some other times, especially when the campaigns begin.